Well, I don't know why I'm standing next to a bin, but good morning, guys. I'm Chris, and welcome back to another episode of Rift Amps. It's not always smooth sailing, so I'm just doing the initial fire up of this latest Ainsley Lister signature build. No valves installed. All I'm doing is just doing some basic voltage checks. I like to leave it with the light bulb limiter on, running for about half an hour, just so all the internal voltages settle down, the filter caps do their initial bits and pieces. I heard a noise, I looked over, smoke everywhere, light bulb's gone full brightness, and the reverb transformer has cooked itself. So that's the first one of these units that I've ever had fail out the box. Unbelievable. Really, really annoyed. So yeah, but that's why you test stuff. The rate of failure when something is new is quite high. That's why they call it the bathtub curve. So you know, you've got time along the bottom, chance of failure on the top. When something is new, chance of failure is quite high, and then it comes down along the life of the product, and then towards the end of the product's life, the rate of failure goes up again. They call it the bathtub curve. But that's why you test, because you want to eliminate anything that can fail in that initial stage. But that reverb transformer has just gone up in smoke. Incredibly frustrating. So yeah, but you know, I thought I'd show you what it's like, what happens. But now the workshop absolutely stinks. Ugh, that's the worst smell. I did think it was interesting because I was measuring wattage on the watt meter, and it was showing the power consumption was slightly higher than usual. So yeah, that was probably an indication. But thankfully, the light bulb limiter is in place, so no other damage was done. We haven't damaged anything else in the amplifier. It's just that transformer had a short and the bulb kicked in before anything else went up. So yeah, we'll get that swapped out and go again. Right, Tremolux. I've spoken to the customer. We are going to, he's got a very nice Mollard GZ34 that he wants to run in this, so he's sending that down to me so I can install it and make sure the amp is fully biased up and whatnot. I'm just working my way through now the bits and pieces that it needs. He's going to keep the blonde channel. He really wants to try that. Gives you a nice difference between the two. We're going to keep the old tremolo, although I am going to tidy all of this up. I've done the grid and screen stoppers on the output valves. I've just done these two 25-25s. I've got two more to do. The recap on the back. The transformer is one of the official replacements that Fender sold back in the 80s or 90s. I found an old Fender catalogue with that part number in it for the Tremolux. So they sold an official replacement. So that's what it is. Obviously, it's not as high quality as the original, but it is what it is. Customer is going to try it with that, and if he's not happy, then we in the future will swap over to a nice replacement unit. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going through the service in the bits and pieces. I've got a hardwire, the 240 volt switch. You can see I've removed the mains cable out of this so far. I'm just working through all the bits and pieces. There was one other thing, I can't remember what it was. Oh yes, because of the blonde channel here, the 12AX7 phase inverter is correct. So that's what we're going to stick with for the time being. But again, if the customer is not happy with the sound, he can plug and play a replacement. But yeah, just going through it, doing all the bits and pieces. There's a lot of interesting solder joints in this thing, so I'm having to reflow a lot. But yeah, making progress. We're getting there. Shouldn't be as difficult as we thought. But yeah, it's just a case of going through the motions. Just been over to pick up the chassis from Fab guy. He's welded up the corners on all of these, So I'm just going to go through, fully clean the chassis up. Excuse me. And then get the protective masking tape on them, because we don't want to scratch them. We don't want to get them scratched up. So that's my job for the next however long that's going to be. So the way I do it, I'm sure you've all seen this before. It's not that interesting, but for those who are new to the channel, we'll get this thing cleaned. There we go. So I've got some IPA, isopropyl alcohol, in a little spray bottle, just some kitchen roll. You'll be amazed at the dirt that comes off this. You'll be absolutely amazed. See? Loads of it. So just give it a wipe down on all sides. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum. We'll start with that one. So this is the stuff I use, 50mm tape. It's made by Mask, so it's a style of masking tape, but it's a very low tack tape, so it doesn't leave any residue. But it's also easy to mark with a pencil. Normally do this in 5 strips. I think it's going to be 4, isn't it? So I don't know where I got 5 from. And there you go. That's one chassis ready to go. So I can now mark that up and do everything with it as I need to. I'll do the other 4 and they can go on the shelf ready for building. I absolutely love FedEx and I also hate them, right? So I ordered some bits from Mauser, which are in, I think it's Grand Prairie in Texas is where everything ships from. And they gave me 2 delivery options, and one of them was express, the other one was standard. I wasn't in a rush for the bits. This was only yesterday, by the way, that I ordered them. So I selected standard, and actually they've turned up in less than 24 hours. So from Texas all the way over the pond to probably London, and then through the network up to me here at the farm in less than 24 hours. It's absolutely insane. So next day delivery from the States, but I just paid for a standard service. Although I guarantee you, if I paid for express service, it would have got delayed. But yeah, that's where we are. So it's not that exciting, it really isn't. But some more switched pots. These ones are the these Bournes. These are the 1 meg switched, which I use on the Americana. Do I use it on the Dexter? I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'll also be using all these Lazy J's that I'm going to be fixing. But they are unbelievable. 1 meg logs. It's only a 16mm pot, this one, but they've got the DT switch on the back. Boop, boop. Solid shaft, brass bushing. Unbelievable. So good. And a lovely rotational torque. Oh, I feel so good. Next day delivery from America, and I didn't even pay for it. Wonderful. Speaking of post, it's the next day. We've got some things, and I believe that this is the valves for the Tremolux. So he said he was going to send to me both that Mullard rectifier, GZ34, and some output valves too. So let's get into this thing. Let's see what has been sent over. Okay, are you with me? Should we zoom you in? Here we go. Mullard GZ34. I'm currently being defeated by a cardboard box. There we go. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Wonderful. That's going to work perfectly. Pin's not broken off. Sorry, the centre pin. That's lovely. Yes. Very excited about that. And what have we got in the boxes? Tongsol 5881s. Okay. I'll have to go in from the underside. Oh, wow. They're the old Tongsols, USA made. Look at that. Oh, fantastic. Very short bottle. Very short bottle indeed. Let me just grab a 6v6 and I'll show you how short these things are. So here's a JJ 6v6, which is, admittedly, they are slightly larger. But the Tongsol's even shorter than that. Little stubby boy, look. Ha ha! Excellent. Oh, yeah. They're going to sound fantastic. Absolutely fantastic in the Tremolux. Is the other one the same? Yes, it is. It's got some matching numbers on. Hopefully they're close enough in the amp. Wonderful. Yes! So they're going to go in the Tremolux once it's all done. I can bias them all up. Adjust the bias circuit if needed to get these where we want them to be. This is going to be a fantastic sounding. Oh, what have I done there? Fantastic sounding amplifier. Good job. Right, so that was one box, and I've received another one from Moran Tools, Mr. Rift. What have we got in here? There is a letter. Somebody has ordered something for me from Moran Tools. From David. Thank you, David. I don't know if this is a bit tongue-in-cheek, but he's ordered for me a pack of 10 3.5mm drill bits. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, look at these. Oh, wonderful. Yes. Thank you, David. I really appreciate that. We'll get those to work. So I'm cracking on with the J20H. This is the one that came in, was it last week for, where's the actual service sheet? I don't want to get this wrong. He said, service as required, noisy pots. So, and he's a working musician, so he wants this thing, nice and reliable and whatnot. So I pulled the pots out, pulled the input jacks out because whilst we're in here, we may as well upgrade the grounding scheme, get rid of this, and actually do a proper noise-free grounding scheme. Then, because we know the board is conductive, I thought I'd pull it out and give it a good clean. But you can see how wavy it is. You can just see the state of the soldering and the board itself. You can see it's got a bit hot there where that resistor was probably in a past life mounted too close. Got some damage encasing on these caps here. And just overall, for an amp that's going to be out on the road, doing big shows, touring, we need to do better. We need to do better. So I'm going to talk to the customer because the plan was, you can actually see on the underboard where things have been going wrong. So yeah. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I'm now going to have to go back to the customer and say, look, I've got the board out. Can I just make up a new one for you? Put that in. I'll use the same or better components that are in there because we don't want to change the tone of this thing. And this is what I say all the time. We want to retain the tone, response, and feel of this amp because that's why the players like them. But we want to improve the noise floor, the reliability, and etc. etc. So I think I'm going to have to go back to the customer and get his permission to do that. But I was trying to get away with not having to do the board on this, like I'm offering on the full works. But it's a case of while we're in there, are we going to half-arse it or are we going to do this properly and given the amp that the customer deserves? So that's kind of where I am on this. I've got a lot of solder joints to clean up down here on the sockets. Half of this needs cleaning up, sorting, fixing, whatever. But yeah, we're getting there slowly. I was actually hoping I could turn this around quite quickly, but nope, we've got things to do. And the absolute proof as well that because this amp doesn't have reverb and tremolo, what we call B+3 and B+4, when you don't have the extra, the external units, this 1K5 dropper is bypassed underneath the board with a jumper wire. And then if the amp was to be fitted with reverb and trem, that is removed, and that then splits those nodes and gives you the extra node you need to power those units. So, but that's absolutely proof that that's how they're done. And yeah, stuff like that. So, right, I shall give the customer a call. Just got off the phone to the customer. He is happy for me to go ahead and swap out this board. Just look at the staining. This is all how things get conductive over time, right? So we're going to make up a new board. 8.6 inches wide, just like the original. Slightly narrower in this direction, just because we don't need the width. That's the design, so you can see that mirrors what's going on here. I'm not going to be using the sprays in these positions. I'm going to be using F&Ts throughout, but the rest of the stuff I'm going to use metal oxides where appropriate, metal films where appropriate, and make this one of the best sounding J20s out there. So a lot that along with the other bits and pieces. So I'm going to go ahead, make progress on this, and I shall update you at some point when we have something to show you. And there we go then, a 5F1 champ. Ingeniously called my Tweed 5 model. I actually discontinued this quite a long time ago, but on occasion, if you ask me nicely enough, I will put one together for you. And I think most of you have been along for the whole ride, so you've seen everything I've done with this, from making the board, populating the chassis, wiring it all up, dressing the cabinet, doing all the bits and pieces. But there you go. Now, I believe this one is off to Sweden. I think it's Sweden. Anyway, to use in a recording studio. So hopefully the new owner loves it. Now, all I've got to do is I've just got to give it a good couple of hours with a loop running through it, just to break in the speaker just a little bit. They can be a little bit tight, or whatever word you want to use, out of the box. But that's it really, yeah. Apart from that, it is done. If I haven't got time right now, but if I do, I will get you some sound samples just so you can hear what this thing does. But yeah, a lot of people ask why not do the Princeton, which is essentially a champ with a tone control. You absolutely can do that. And if having a tone control is beneficial to you, great. This customer didn't want that. He just wanted the simplicity of a single volume control, something that he could manipulate with the controls on his guitar, etc, etc, etc. So yeah, and also the slightly small form factor. Someone did ask, and I will remember, because I'm just going to look it up, if it was an oversized cabinet, and the short answer is yes, it is. Let me just bring up the correct info, because I don't want to get this wrong, because otherwise you lot will shout at me in the comments section. So Tweed champs, funny old things. So the wide panel champs were quite small. They were, am I thinking the right one? Hold on. Website is small. Yeah, so the early ones were 11 inches by 12 inches by 7.25. Then they went to cabinets that were 1.5 inches larger, so 12.5 by 13.5 by 8. Yeah. So Fender did do a small, what you might call a small box champ, and then a big box champ, and we actually go one size of that, so 1 inch larger than that, so 14.5 inches wide by 13 tall. Just helps everything breathe a little bit more inside. I know some people find 8-inch speakers to be a little bit boxy, but give them enough space to actually breathe and do their thing, and you get quite a large sound. So yeah, really, really cool. Quite happy with that. I'm quite happy with the lacquer finish as well. Lovely amber, but not too light, not too dark. I think the customer will be pleased with that too. So there you go. Yeah, little Tweed 5 off to Sweden. Job done. Update on the Lazy J. I'm just having a bit of a think because whilst I'm making the board, or whilst the board is being made, I should say, I've gone ahead and stripped out the rest of the chassis apart from the mains transformer and the power scaling circuit. I've removed all the wires, I've removed all the leaded solder from the sockets. I still need to clean those up, and the rest of the chassis up. But I'm just having a look because what they've done is mounted the output transformer at an angle. Now, the reason he's done that is that he hasn't used the original mounting points for that the chassis uses for the output transformer, because he wanted to use. Well, actually, I'm not entirely sure why. I'm still getting my head around this. So I'm going to try and demonstrate to you what's going on and why. Hopefully, you'll follow me. So these two holes up here are the original output transformer mounts. Now, what he's done is he's moved the transformer over. It could be for, because he's trying to combat electromagnetically coupled hum. God, I can't talk today. From the mains transformer, which in theory is a good thing, but he didn't mount it vertically because he wanted to use this hole as his board mount. You see, if I put the original board back in, you can see he's got a mount down here. He's got a second one there, which is not standard, and he's using one up here. So to avoid that, he's mounted his output transformer wonky. Now, in theory, that might be okay. But ideally, if we can get the windings as close to 90 degrees relative to each other that we can reduce the noise of this amplifier further. So I'm just having a look as to if there's any reason why I couldn't mount this transformer north to south, as it were, or even better, further along. Now, it all depends on various things, one of which is the speaker in the cabinet, and when the chassis is mounted, is there any risk of things fouling? And I'm just going to mount that in there and bring you round. You can see the kind of clearance that we've got in there, and I don't see why we couldn't mount it vertically, as in on that plane. I don't see a reason why it has to be cocked over. So I'm going to okay, fine. Sorry, I was just thinking in my head then. What I need to do is, of course, do my own board mounts first. So I zoom you out. Do my own board mounts first, which would be, if I can reuse this one down here, the same one that on this board, then I could say, well, that's going to go in like that. Oh no, I'm going to have to redraw anyway. But if I were to mount my board in roughly where I think it should go, which is usually around there, I'm going to have a mount there, as I normally do, and I'm going to have one up this end, maybe there. Is that going to interfere with anything if I mount the transformer vertically? No, I'm going to have loads of clearance. So that answers that question. See, making even more improvements than we thought we would. So there you go. So I'm going to relocate this transformer north to south, and we'll double check the clearance in the cabinet just in case, but that is only going to be a good thing. Might just need to extend the wires slightly, but I don't see why I would. I mean, is there a reason why I couldn't mount it in its original location? What was the reason for that? Thinking out loud. It might be possible, actually. It might be possible. Maybe we just do that. Maybe we just do that. Move everything over. Use the original mounting holes for the transformer. That's still going to be better than having it cocked. Right. Anyway, that's the Lazy J. So working on that. Still need to get this chassis fully cleaned. Clean all the metal up. Make sure we've got good contact points for everything. That's that. Speaking of the Tremolux, so customers come back to me again and has decided that he does want the output transformer replacing. He's not happy with the fender one that's in there. It's not original for the amp anyway. He would rather have... See, the problem is he wants to run this with an 8 ohm cab, and this is a 4 ohm tap on this transformer. So let's get something custom wound for the unit with an 8 ohm tap. So then he can run his extension cab as he wants. Now he has also talked about having maybe a combo cab made for this chassis and doing combo conversion. And again, he'd want to run an 8 ohm, a 1x12 8 ohm setup. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to pull this transformer out, wire in, get a custom wound 40 watt, probably a 4K2 primary into 8 ohms. I'll probably get a 4 ohm tap on it as well, just so then we can, in the future, we can convert it to 4 ohms if we need to. We're doing a recap on the board here, so we're going to pull this entire board out, clean it all up properly, do that to the highest standard we can. The chassis is pretty grubby. There's a lot of cleaning and tidying to go on as well. I mean, if you just look up in this section, there's all sorts of fun going on. I'll just show you. If I get a Q-tip and my bottle of IPA, you can just see how grubby this thing is. So it all needs a good old clean up, making as good as it can be, because he will be gigging this. So, you know, we've got to get it right. Got to get it right. Just a final one on Shakespeare's Princeton. Owner's going to take it away. Because he's got a matching amp, because they bought them in pairs, he's going to swap the speakers over and see if the issue follows the amp, or sorry, follows the speaker or stays with the amp. But the testing I've done with, confirming that the speaker inside that cabinet has that issue, whereas you plug it into a different cabinet and the issue disappears completely. So whether that speaker itself maybe has an internal fault and it's getting too hot and causing the problems, or whether it's just that speaker itself. But I was convinced, somewhere in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I remember the Princeton Reverb issue having a different speaker to the C10R. I know some of them had the P10R, which is the Alnico version, but I seem to remember that some of them having a Celestian as well. Now, sure enough, I was having a look at the custom reverb, and that's got the Celestian 1030. There it is, inside. And we go on Celestian's website. That's the 30 watt speaker with a 1 1/4 inch voice coil. Slightly more sensitivity as well. Really interesting, and that frequency response chart is much better than the C10R, right? That is, do you remember the C10R had that quite a broad bottom end and then that dip around here and then back up to the top? Well, out of the two, this is going to be a much nicer speaker, I'll be honest with you. So, but yeah, I would say, and being that it's got a beefier voice coil in it, it's probably a better option anyway. And I'll keep talking about the pigs, but I figured I'd come down and show you. There they are. Hello. Hello. Gorgeous things, look. There's some more up here, look. It goes. Probably not right now, middle of the day, it's a bit hot, but Tremolo will be somewhere in this field, hunting. We'll keep having a look, see if we can find her. Yeah, so we've got 2 pig pens. Is that what you call them? Pens? Sties? Holdings? What are you up to? What are you doing? Well, I don't know what sort of noise that is. But he's coming. Or she, I don't know. Just while I'm thinking about it, there was... yeah, so I'm going to mount the output transformer in its original location. But I also want to add a HT fuse to the amplifier as well. And we're going to have as I normally do with amplifiers, we're going to have a power ground over here, a mini star ground for the power side, and all the preamp is going to be grounded up by the input jacks. So there is already a hole here. Now that was because the amp originally had this piece of tag strip, which all of the other, you had high voltage center tap grounded at this end. You had the 1, 2, 3, 4 different mains primary taps there, of which one was then connected up to the rest of the amplifier. And then we had the heater winding was got the artificial ground here via 2 100 ohm resistors, and this kind of sat in on one transformer bolt there, and then there's a separate mount there. Now, because that hole is already there, I'm going to use that hole as my this hole up here. Sorry, this one in here. I'm going to use that as my mini star ground for the power supply. And we'll have our HT fuse kind of there, which will then give me all of the, what word am I looking for? All of the clearance and protection and all that kind of stuff that I need. So let me just, while I'm thinking about this, spin this over. So I'm just going to line up that hole with my, yeah, you can see now, get my square, because we want everything to be nice and square. Square, 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 and my pencil is dead. Hold on a minute. Here we go. So if we can get the centre of that hole, allowing for the thickness of the pencil, there we go. That's my line there. And so we'll have that roughly there. So I've got enough room for my ground lugs there. Got enough clearance to that hole. So that is where I'm going to drill the mount for the HT fuse. Oh, god damn it. Right, can I do it from the inside? Yeah. Okay, so the clearance then, let's just do this the other way. Normally you do all of this sort of stuff before you mount transformers, but I don't want to pull that transformer out. So from the centre of that hole, it's 30 millimetres, 3 centimetres down. So we'll come around this way. Sorry, when I'm figuring stuff out live, I know it's not that interesting, but it will be. That came up to that hole there. Oh, you beauty, look at that. Let's not be an idiot, let's double check everything. Lovely. Well, that looks square to me. Very good. Come over to this side. That grommet can go back in. There we go. Well, we just need to deburr that hole. Actually, all of these are pretty sharp. Do the basics, do them right. Okay, right. Sorry, 8 minutes of me waffling there. Anyway, so that's now that. So that can go in there. Lovely. With my ground point there. Transformer can be mounted back on, but only once I've made the board, done my board mounts. Get all of that right. So once I've got my board mounts in, then the transformer can go back on. Looks like a hay mower, if you're interested. And then, yeah, I need to crack on with the rest of the cleaning. Okay, board made. I've done a single mounting hole for the time being, just so I can kind of do a rough sketch up of where I want things to be. The other thing I've also done is up here, it's just a fake pencil mark. What I've done is, obviously the transformer is going to be mounted on the outside of the chassis, but I just want to double check clearance. If I mount that in there like that, you can see, zoom you out, there we go. I'm just trying to mirror image what's going on the outside of the chassis. So that's what those pencil marks there are for. Just so we get a rough idea of where this stuff is going to sit. Okay. So with my board in place, too far. Told you it was annoying me. And we have it roughly there. And I'd want my second mount about here, so in line there. You can see actually I've got quite a long way down to go, roughly there on that axis. Before I reach the side of that transformer. So we could put a mount, the second mount roughly here. Does this make sense to everybody? Bear in mind, this is the ground side of these caps anyway. So we can do our second board mount there. You see? That point there, which would be roughly there. See? Clearancing. Lovely. So that's that. So I think I'm happy with that. Yeah, this is going to work out great. Right, that's enough on the Lazy J for this video. More next week. One very toasty reverb transformer. So I've measured it, and there is a short to the core. Of course there is now. Now this thing has melted, but I suspect the issue was actually a shorted secondary. So yeah, I shall be sending this back to the winder for further investigation, but until we get to the bottom of why that one has shorted, I won't be using any others from this batch moving forward, as in, so anyone that will wound after this unit, just in case they have an issue too. But yeah, quite frustrating, but it's okay, we'll get it sorted. The winder is very good. He'll get himself organised, back together, work out what's going on. It could just be a one-off, but you never know. Who knows? But yeah, this is why we test things before they go out the door, just 'cause sometimes things go wrong. But anyway, that particular chassis, I've got another transformer in there now, fired it up, gone through the whole process, valves are in, it's been through its initial burning process now, all is good, all is fine, all is well. So that is ready for Ainsley to come play test it, sign it off, then the customer can have it. Right, the board is done, and as you can see, compared to the original board from the amplifier, it is a significant upgrade in both build standard, parts quality, and overall good work. So yeah, really happy with that. So now we can crack on and get this thing into the chassis. So I need to drill my board mounts, etc, etc. But you'll see how that's going to look in there. That looks really smart, doesn't it? Really nice. So I'll talk you through the differences that I've made, or the changes that I've made relative to the original board. So we'll just zoom you in. So the original board uses the Sprague atoms as the three main filter caps, the 16, 16, 16. Now, I've obviously gone for the higher quality F&Ts throughout. This 22 microfarad here is, I can spin it around and show you. Oh no, he's rubbed off the, there is a tad 22, which actually is a really nice cap. They are made by F&T, although they are relabeled. You can actually see it's exactly the same as the 22 F&T that I've put in there. I've used metal oxides and metal films throughout where appropriate, and carbon films where necessary. I have also made an ever so slight change in that I've added a grid stopper to the phase inverter input just to stop some blocking distortion. That's a good upgrade, and but that's about it really. So tonally the amp is going to remain the same, and that's the goal, right? And I've said this a couple of times now, we don't want to change the way this amp sounds, plays or feels, right? We're just trying to make it quieter in terms of noise floor and ground hum and buzz, stuff like that. We're trying to make the amplifier more reliable and reduce any chance of the amp going down in the future, and I think we've done that. I've even orientated the tone caps the same way so you can't read the value on them, just like the original amp. Whilst I don't agree with doing that as though you're trying to hide something, it is part of the aesthetic, which do you know what, I will admit I do kind of like. So anyway, that's the way it is. That's all done now, so I can crack on with the rest of it. But yeah, the board is done. Well, that's it then, guys. Thank you very much for watching once again. As always, please give this video a thumbs up, or your comments and questions down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're feeling super generous like these guys have, why not join the channel? And I will catch you all at the next one. Well, the UK is currently going through a bit of a heat wave. It is roasting hot, and it has been for the past couple of weeks, and it will be for the next couple of weeks as well, I think, actually. So there. But today is Friday the 20th. Tomorrow is Saturday the 21st of June, which, as you all know, is the summer solstice, so the longest day of the year. And then it's all downhill again to Christmas. So yeah. Now, what's interesting is that not only is tomorrow the longest day of the year, it's looking like it's going to be the hottest day of the year so far. Absolutely roasting. So yeah, get your suntan on, enjoy the weather. It doesn't always last, but when it does, we're always out here making the most of it. If you're going to see any gigs or anything, any festivals over the weekend, protect yourself. You know the rules by now. I'm just heading up the farm, see if I can find Bob the horse, see what he's up to. And yeah, not really much else to say. It's been quite a nice week messing around with amplifiers. Got the Tweed done, got that Ainsley SIG finished, got loads of repairs done, making good progress on the lazy J20H, as you've seen. Customer is so excited to get that back. Speaking of which, you know, I said I had 3 bookings for more to come in. Well, I've had another 2. So that will be 5 plus the one I'm doing now. And I did actually get a bit of a snotty email from somebody saying, why am I bothering with these, touching somebody else's amps, etc, etc. And the argument is, well, you know, if they were built properly in the first place, I wouldn't need to. You know, none of this would need to happen. But I've got my own customers who own those amps that want them to be upgraded, want them to be reliable, want them to be as good as they can be, and they want me to do the work. So, of course, it's not compulsory. They don't have to, but they're choosing to. And who am I to say no to my wonderful customers? Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Catch you next time.